What's up, everybody? Gonna do a quick, or maybe not so quick, chat about the Daytona 500 and look forward to Atlanta, sort of a midweek recap, if you will, and we'll go over a few cards that we pulled in a break from last night as I chit-chat about the race. So I'm not going to go into great detail on the cards. It'll just give you guys something to look at and watch better than my ugly mug. So just kind of some hot takes, quick takeaways from this past weekend at Daytona. I think it is abundantly clear that they need to do something to improve the plate racing and super speedway racing. I just don't know what that fix is. But I mean, in reality, it usually boils down to, not very exciting racing for the first 180 laps, and maybe the last 20 laps is when it gets the most interesting. And again, I'm not sure what the fix is, but I do know that as a fan, it's not exciting to watch supposedly the best, race car drivers in the world, or at least in the stock car realm, driving around at 40 to 50% throttle for 150 laps because the fuel economy game is such an important part of it. So that's a significant problem that has to get resolved, in my opinion. So just to kind of move on to the race real quick, Daytona, I've always said, along with Talladega and a lot of these other super speedway type style races, it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of being in the right place at the right time. William Byron has kind of proven that the last 2 years. I know he had a strong car and he was up front early in the race, but then we really didn't hear much from him through the middle to late part of the race. He was sort of a non-factor. He was riding around back there at I think 6th place or so on the last 2 laps. Maybe coming to white, I think he was running 6th or 7th. So exciting for Byron fans, absolutely. But it just doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't satisfy that racing that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? I'm looking for guys that are passing cars or, rubbing up against something that's not just as a result of a 15-car pileup and you won the race type of thing. So not saying that William Byron did anything wrong. He absolutely positioned himself to win the race. Kudos to him for doing so. It's kind of a don't hate the player, hate the game type of thing. So, but that said, a couple other quick takeaways I had. Obviously, I think a lot of people can probably agree with this. I'm not sure Cole Custer belongs in the Cup Series again. Man, he wrecked a lot of cars. There was at least 2 occasions where he set off a caution. I stand by my statement. I don't say much about drivers very often, but I stand by my statement the other day when I said there's a reason why Tony Stewart did not want him in his Cup car. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. Like I said, it's a lot of luck, and you have to avoid getting pushed out of the way or being wrecked or being caught up in a wreck. So I think, just to sort of put a bow on Daytona and what could be done, I think, in the future, I think they need to eliminate the stage cautions, and they need to keep the racing green flag as much as possible. And what that would do is create the teams, it would force the teams to have to pit under green, and then it would spread the field out a little bit. And you wouldn't have these guys rolling around at 40 and 50% throttle because they wouldn't be able to. So it would create actual racing, at least in my opinion. But if that won't work or can't work or whatever, then I honestly, honestly, I think they could cut the Daytona 500 down to a 50-lap shootout, and it would be just as exciting. If we're all being honest with ourselves. And then the one last thing I'll touch on with Daytona before I move on to Atlanta this week is I saw a lot of posts from people saying this is why you buy tickets, and then it's this giant wreck in front of them. And I'm sorry, I just have to say, if you're somebody that's buying a race ticket going to see a wreck, you're a twisted type of person. That is not racing. That is not why you should be going to a wreck. And I understand maybe that's why some people like going, but if you like that, go to a demolition derby. That's not racing. I hold my breath every time it happens. Like I said many times before, I've seen bad things happen at racetracks. And 2001 wasn't all that long ago for those of us that remember it. Real bad things can happen, and there are real people in those race cars, and it's not that exciting to see them flipping and wrecking violently at 185 miles an hour. So if you're the person that's posting saying how exciting it is and that's why you go, man, we're not the same. That's all I can say about that. And then kind of looking ahead to Atlanta, Atlanta's more the same. Another super speedway. So if we were looking for something to change from Daytona to Atlanta, not going to be a big change. I think we'll see a lot of, again, fuel strategy, guys not running full throttle, pack racing, all that kind of stuff. And, last year's finish at Atlanta was super exciting with Daniel Suarez getting the win. I love that for him. It was a very exciting finish, like I said, just like Daytona can be, but in reality, the finish is where it's at. Same with Atlanta as it is Daytona. So I guess my thought process is I'd like to see them do something to make the racing more about the racing and less about just fuel strategy and pack racing. Because that's really what it's kind of turned into, is this, it's kind of this game that they play. and it so happens oftentimes that NASCAR seems to find cautions at interesting times so that teams don't have to pit under green. And then they also seem to leave pit road open and leave cautions out for an exceptionally long period of time. I guess the other fix might be to just not allow caution flag pit stops at super speedways. Maybe that would be the other fix, is whenever there's caution, pit road is closed. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box to create something where they're going to have to race and not just roll around at 40-50% throttle for 3 hours until they get to the finish, and then all of a sudden everybody says go, and then when everybody says go, then they start wrecking because they're going faster and not holding anything back. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what the fix is, and it's no secret that I'm not a fan of super speedway racing whatsoever. I love the Daytona 500. I've attended it a couple of times, but I will say they could honestly take away and just have the Daytona 500 and one Talladega race, and I'd be fine with that. One race at each track per year, period. Done. But at any rate, that's kind of my quick recap for the week, or maybe not so quick. But we got Atlanta coming up. Should be another interesting week. And the good news is, and everything is, racing's back. We've got something fun to watch on Sundays. I'm also a football fan, but football season's in the rearview mirror. So that leaves us with NASCAR for the foreseeable future until we get back to September. So enjoy the race this weekend. Hopefully, again, a safe one. That's the big thing for me. And we'll do this again next week.